Taking Control with Dr. Josh.
Cyberbullying is back in the headlines after two Florida girls were arrested on felony charges for allegedly taunting and bullying 12-year-old Rebecca Sedgwick. Sedgwick committed suicide last month by jumping from a tower at an abandoned concrete factory. Facebook messages led police to their suspects. One of them posted a message saying Rebecca should, quote, drink bleach and die. Joining us today to talk about cyberbullying is UAB psychologist Dr. Josh Claypo. Thanks so much for joining us.
Sure, Gina.
This is really troubling, and you said a lot of these are young people in their teens, like 12 to 14.
Yeah, in this case, a 12-year-old commits suicide, and the two girls in custody are 12 and 14. And all of this was done via the internet and electronic means, and that is horrific.
Yeah, what is going on? Why are we seeing more and more cases of this?
Well, if you think about it, you know, the traditional form of bullying, that sort of face-to-face bullying, is what we're all used to. But now, with the electronic means, there are ways that kids and adults can get at one another and never be face-to-face. And the thing that I think is important that we have to understand is, as you see in this case and others, it can have very damaging implications, including lethal ones.
So what exactly is cyberbullying?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to define, but think of it as harassment through messaging. Okay, and that harassment can be via email, via text, social media. It can be posting inappropriate information about somebody on a social media site. It can come from any of those means, but it's a harassment where somebody is targeted.
So what's the main difference, aside from what you just said, from this and face-to-face bullying?
Yeah, psychologically there is a difference. If you think about face-to-face bullying, it's kind of time limited. In other words, it happens when the bully and the kid being bullied are together, and when they're not, it doesn't happen. When you think about cyberbullying, there is no limit in the time. It can happen 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It can come from different means, different messages, etc. So it's relentless. That's number one. Number two, with face-to-face bullying, the bully has to face the other child. If you think about cyberbullying, it's anonymous. And so what we see is that the bullies can become much more vicious in their language, in their what they're stating, things like, you know, drink bleach and die, because they don't have to face them.
Yeah, I think they can become more aggressive too, because they don't have to put their name. So, okay, a lot of times it seems like these kids aren't going to their parents and letting them know. So what can parents do to prevent this from even happening?
Okay, it can be challenging, but there's a few things we want to keep in mind. Number one, you want to have, if at all possible, your computers at home where you can see them. Your kids should not be using their computers up in their rooms without you being able to watch. I know that that's not always easy, but it should be a rule. The other thing is you got to teach your kids what cyberbullying is. A lot of times they just look at the messages going back and forth and they think it's teasing. It's not always teasing. And the other rule, which is very hard, but you have to take a hard line, is if you're paying for the computers, if you're paying for the phone service, then you have every right to look at what they're texting, to look at their posts, to know their passwords. As much as you may want to protect their privacy, that's okay, but you need to spot check what's going on socially for them.
So if you do see cyberbullying, then what do you do?
Okay, here's what you do. Number one, you tell your child, you require your child to stop responding. When they stop responding, the bully may increase their messages. They may become more aggressive. You don't respond. The other thing you do is you do not delete the messages. You want to keep the messages, you want to keep the pictures, because you may actually use them as evidence in a legal case. Try to find out where it's coming from, and if there is violence or sexual harassment, any of that in the language, if there's any child pornography, then you know what? You go right to the police. This is that serious. It's not a one-time teasing deal. I mean, that's okay. But when we talk about what we're seeing in the news lately, we are talking about very lethal and destructive actions.
I know, I'm just wondering too, if maybe you should just not have your child even look at it. Sometimes that defeats the bully's purpose, if there's no response.
Oh, absolutely, but a lot of times your kids get caught up in it. They get a message, they put a message back, they get a message, they put it back, and the next thing they know, they're in the middle of it. Here's the thing, kids may be very savvy technologically, but they're not savvy socially. We as parents need to intervene and let them understand that these kinds of interactions are not normal behavior. Again, teasing once in a while, look, that's a part of being a kid.
Right.
But this kind of stuff is absolutely not acceptable, and it's very dangerous.
All right, Dr. Josh, thank you.
Sure, Gina.
All right.